Thank you guys for being here. We're recording the Teacher podcast here live at ISTE. Today we're catching up with Chrystal Trapani, did I say it correctly? Okay. And Jenna Ashley, who are both instructional technologists at Old Dominion University. They both have a passion for ensuring all educational content is accessible for all students. They're here with us now at our Cami booth, so thank you both for being here.
Thank y'all for coming.
Thank you for having us.
We're excited to be here.
And I don't know if Marcus told you, but we're very laid back here, very casual, just having a conversation. It is live, so Marcus can't burp this time. But so first and foremost, for those that don't know of either of you, can you both tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Sure. I am an English instructor. I am also the instructional technologist at Old Dominion University for the Center of Learning Teaching. I'm also an instructional design and technology PhD student, and I am focused on educational accessibility.
So I asked Tim yesterday, I said, do you sleep? So do you sleep?
Do you sleep?
I'll sleep when I'm dead.
All right, baby. All right.
Preach. I'm an instructional technologist with the Center for Learning and Teaching at Old Dominion in Norfolk. I'm also a Google certified trainer, a Google certified coach, a Canvas certified educator, a global GEG leader. I sleep when the ADHD med wears off. Like, it's what happens.
And I do want to give like a big shout out to the two of you. We just talked about this right before we started, but the both of you are featured in Education Weekly.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Yes, for a lovely session that you delivered here at ISTE, and I just want to give you both a big congratulations.
We are extremely excited.
You should be. You
Somebody
deserve
from
it.
work forwarded it to us, and we were like, wait, what? And then I'm going internally, I will not scream, I will not scream, I will not scream, and interrupt that nice lady's presentation because she's got all the hype. I'm gonna hold it. I'm gonna hold it.
You can let it out right now. Give a little
Go ahead and have a
It's
moment. It's
crazy.
fine. You're with teacher. But I did want to take that moment to give you your kudos because it's impressive. And it's also like wonderful that you're being recognized for the good work that you do every day. So just thank y'all.
Thank you.
We're
You're going to hear a lot of
excited.
y'all. Sorry, I'm from New Orleans.
That's okay. We're from Virginia. It's all kinds of
Okay,
y'all.
perfect. Today, we're talking about accessibility in education. So let's start off by asking, who is impacted by accessibility, whether it's good or bad?
Everybody.
Everybody. Yeah,
Every
literally
student
everybody.
in your class, whether they've got paperwork accommodations or not. I don't care if you've got a 504 for them. I don't care if you've got an IEP for them. A lot of students cannot afford the process that it takes to get the diagnosis they need, to get that paperwork from medical professionals, or they don't always have the sped teacher in the back. It's just, happy. But they've also done large-scale studies, like thousands of students, to where they've found that even those students that don't have a documented need benefit when you make content accessible. Something to the tune of 98.6% of students will use captions if you put captions on your videos, even if only about 6% actually need them. So someone like me who's hard of hearing, I have to have them. If I can't read your lips, I got nothing. If you've got a video in front of me, I got nothing if you don't put captions on it. But students that don't necessarily need them are still going to benefit. They're still using them as a study aid. They're still using them to help, reinforce things. Your English language learner students who are learning literally as they go along. You want to talk about building the plane and flying it at the same time. They trying to do a whole, math, which is its own language in itself, in a language they don't speak. So when you make your content accessible, when you give them the tools, you're not just helping those kids that have paperwork, that have family at home that says, yeah, we should have a talk with your teachers or we should have a talk with your doctor. You're helping those kids whose parents are just saying, you're lazy. You don't need help.
I felt that in like my bones, because you're absolutely right that not everybody is diagnosed.
Yep.
And even those who are diagnosed, you never know what accessible needs they may have for different subjects or as they grow older. So universal accessibility is definitely necessary.
And I'm a pick on Chrystal here for a minute. Chrystal's dyslexic. A's all through school, great doing things, got to geometry and got told.
She told me that I was lazy.
Now, you're not going to tell me that a student is A/B honor roll throughout and just can't do one single subject. No.
Told me I was lazy. Told me she didn't know I was going to college, and now I'm working on my PhD. So if she sees this by chance,
Look at me now.
Look at me now. Ha, ha, ha. Proud of you.
So
Proud of you.
keep that in mind. It may be that one person that was in a position to help a student that either didn't, couldn't, wouldn't, shouldn't, whatever, and they don't get the services they need.
Well, and I think back to when I taught, my school had this really weird rule that they wouldn't test in kindergarten.
Yep.
Well, you know when you know that they need the extra support. So I had to come up with ways to support those students that I knew because they couldn't get tested for those specific things until first grade. So, yes, any student, all students.
Yeah.
Did you both have any personal experiences growing up with inaccessibility? I know we just talked about the geometry teacher that said you were lazy, but any other examples that you have?
I mean, I go every day with either this thing or my wheelchair. So for me, it's always been, if nothing else, a physical access need. But I grew up in a house full of disabled people. My mom has cerebral palsy. My dad was an amputee, full-time in a wheelchair. You see the world differently from 4 feet tall.
Yes.
When you're rolling around. We work in a building. I'm on the 3rd floor. If the building catches fire, this potato is about to be a French fry while I sit and wait for specially trained personnel to come evac me.
for the record, I tell her all the time, I will just sling her over my shoulder.
She will
and carry
just
her
fire
down
me,
the
carry
stairs.
me down.
Good.
The
We all need a
Amazon will get
Chrystal
me
that
out.
will
we
save
all
us.
need a, everybody needs an Amazon in their corner. But just making sure that, you've got somebody like that is also hard. And a lot of our kids haven't found that person yet. They don't have somebody that they can depend on that'll support them. And sometimes, unfortunately, the families aren't supportive in the same way.
I was just thinking that they need the support at school, which oftentimes, if you're at a good school, they're going to support you. But you also need that to transcend into when you go home. Because if they're not getting it at home either, they're still being...
And there's also parents at home and caregivers at home that need those accessibility pieces too. Your student might not need it, but their care, the care system at home might.
Yeah.
So especially with the pandemic where, parents have had to take on a lot of support with making sure their students are successful, trying to make sure that they can access the content the same way. Because you might have a blind parent at home that's supporting a child, and they have no idea what's in an image because there's no alt text on it.
Yeah.
Or English is not their first language, and they don't know what this document's talking about because they can't get it translated into their language because it's a PDF or something like that.
Yeah. So then you're limiting both the student and the teacher.
Yep.
Or the parent.
I think, honestly, the most helpful thing you can do is just continue sharing those stories, because a lot of people take accessibility for granted because they don't know. They don't know. They don't have any personal anecdotes about people who have been disenfranchised. And so, first of all, I'm just really thankful for y'all being candid, like open and honest about the things that y'all have been through, because that is what's going to help other people prioritize this. So just thank y'all for opening up.
I've learned that if you try to hide it, it makes it feel like being disabled is shameful. I have people that always give me words like differently abled or handy capable. She said that once when she didn't know any better, and I apparently looked like I was going to vomit. Disabled is not a bad word. It's not it's not, don't treat it like it is, because when you act like it's a bad word, you make students feel like it's a bad word. And you make them feel like they're less than, and that they shouldn't talk about it, and that they shouldn't advocate for what they need. Because there's going to come a point where they have to advocate for themselves. When they get their first job, they have to be the ones to talk to their boss about what supports they need. When they get to college and, FERPA hits, they're 18, and the professors can't talk to them. The Office of Educational Accessibility, or what they used to call Disability Services, can't talk to the parents. They can only talk to the child. Because at that point, they're an adult because they hit 18.
Yeah.
But they have to learn how to advocate for themselves, including them in the IEP meetings from young ages. I know we try to do it with high school students. Start it early. Start having them in there in 5th grade or even earlier.
Even earlier, because that's a great point, because it's so separated from the actual student.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have them there in those conversations and be like, this is why so-and-so pulls you at this time of the day.
Yep.
That is amazing.
I'll tell you though, and I got a new favorite thing for you. We got a special ed teacher sitting over there, and she's nice and I like her. A special education teacher I worked with in a district I was in before. Every time she started an IEP meeting, everybody's gathered around the table, including the student, parent, everybody, and she would go, "We're going to talk a lot today about the things that are a struggle or that you can't do. But we're each going to go around right now and identify one thing that we think you are awesome at, that we know and we love about you, and that we think is positive." And it was really powerful because we want them in the room, but then a student's going to sit there and go, "Oh, I'm 5 grade levels behind my class. Oh, I'm reading at a 2nd grade level in the 9th grade. And they're made to feel bad, and we don't want that for them."
That's a really, really, really strong pro tip, is to prepare the kid for the future, but to also be honest about the things the kid does really well. These kids are brilliant. Give a kid an iPad. I don't care. Just they can do things. They find buttons and things that I didn't know existed. They're brilliant. All of this generation is brilliant, but it's our job to point that out, especially in an IEP meeting where you are going to have some tough conversations about the things that the kid may struggle with. Write that down. Pro tip. Write that down somewhere. Put that down. I got a good one. Lots of new teachers. I think there was a quote at the main stage. We got 10,000 something plus new teachers coming into the field next year. So this is kind of 2-part, but what are just like the basics of making your teaching more accessible? Like, where does this teacher even start?
4 things.
Oh.
4 things.
Four things.
4.
Here we go.
The first one, everybody can do. It takes 0 knowledge. Color contrast. There are great free tools out there, WebAIM's Contrast Checker, Color Safe, that will it will tell you if your colors are accessible for students with visual differences. It's free. I'm all about free.
We like free things.
Fonts. I know we all love those really cute fonts. I know we do. But you want to pick a font that is evenly spaced, evenly parsed, readable. Those are things everybody standing here can do and everybody who's watching us can do, and I know this.
Because we've all changed colors and fonts in our documents, and we do it every day.
Yeah.
You want to make sure, try as much as you can to not use PDFs. Please stop using PDFs. Or if you're going to use them, put them through Cami and the OCR reader. Because the reality is people do it out of a good place. They're like, I'm going to put this textbook on the copy machine so my students can have a copy of it and they don't have to buy it. But what happens when you do that is it just takes a picture. And so when you give it to a student who's blind, the screen reader literally just says image. That's all it tells them.
Image. Like in that robotic voice.
Yep. And then the last one is just make sure you're willing to learn more. You can't know what you don't know. We don't know everything. We learn stuff all the time.
We got a random request once from a group on our campus they're the communication group. Like they put out, flyers and the Facebook and Twitter feeds for the school, and they were like, teach us about social media, making it accessible. And we were like, give us a week. And we just dove in and learned all of the things. And we learned things we didn't know.
Yeah.
But you have to be willing to admit that you don't know and go find out.
Yeah, you can't know what you don't know. And we always, when we do talks, we try to always start with, at some point you're probably going to feel bad. And we know that. Yeah. But you can't know what you don't know. The only thing you can do is say, I'm going to do better going forward. I'm going to keep learning. I'm going to keep empowering my students.
I
feel like I want to say that right now.
4.
I'm going to do better. That's good.
4 was transcripts and SRT. It's closed captions for videos. Put captions on videos. Your students are using them even if they don't have an auditory difference. Study after study has proven that it helps them. It helps them master material. It helps them go back and study. It helps them so much.
And the thing of it is, this goes for everything, whether it's you're building a website, you're building content for students, you're building, I don't care if you're making TikToks. If it doesn't have captions, I'm going to scroll right on by it because I can't engage with it. I'm completely deaf in one ear. I've got a 40% hearing loss in another. I'm going to skip right over it. If it's a video, nope. Next.
And you can make your social media accessible. There are ways to do it.
When I tell you that when Instagram got captions, I got an immediate message from our coworker friend that was like, oh my God, look. And I was just like so excited. But honestly, the biggest one for me would be having a conversation with your students.
Yeah.
If you see them, or if you notice something, we notice things. We see our kids more than their families in some cases. Talk to them. It all goes back to building those relationships where you have that ability to go up to them and go, what do you feel like you need? What do you want to try? What do you think could help?
What's worked for you in the past?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Just being honest with the kid. Like, you notice maybe a slow reader or a slow writer, like, hey, how'd you do this last year?
And empower students to be ready to ask those questions, and talk to their teachers about that. Because when they get to higher ed, we literally just get a list. This student gets extra time. There's no big IEP conversation meeting. So empower your students to be prepared to say, hey, this is what worked for me in the past. How can we make this work in your class?
Yep. And that's one thing, as a classroom teacher, you get that copy of the IEP and it lists out, those present levels. And it's got everything in it. And it's got notes from previous teachers that say, little Susie will calm down if you give them a piece of gum. And I know that's really weird, but I've pulled that right out of an IEP before. And guess what? I kept a box of gum in my desk. And whenever that child got upset, I would just, walk by and leave it on the desk and keep walking, not make a big deal out of it. But it all comes down to having a relationship where they feel like they can tell you those things.
And I really like the importance of teaching them that young, because like you said, once they turn 18, they can no longer talk to the parents. It's up to them. So making them advocates for the rest of their life, that's really awesome. Any last questions, Marcus?
I think maybe you have one more?
I think yours was a combination of mine.
Oh, I stole your question?
Yeah.
I do that, y'all.
But
I'm
it's
so
okay.
sorry.
They went side by side.
It worked.
So we have some people in the audience. If anyone in the audience has a question, a quick question before we wrap up.
I want you to yell it. True Jasmine fashion.
I think you guys are freaking awesome. Oftentimes, we do not have this conversation for our students, for our population. That is exactly what I want to lean into, and I'm glad that you guys are on Teacher and making it known. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Works. Thank you for your vulnerability, and thank you for being just amazing educators. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you,
Thanks,
Jasmine,
Jasmine,
for saying everything we're feeling.
Do you guys have a place where you can send people for more information or to learn more about what you do or just accessibility in general?
Yeah, we do. We've done 3 presentations throughout ISTE for all on accessibility.
Yeah.
It's kind of our jam. I'm a little biased, obvious reasons. But we've got a bit.ly that we can give out.
Yeah.
It's bit.ly/C, lowercase n, capital J, and then capital ISTE. 22.
And from the bottom of my heart, friends, I'm incredibly thankful once again for you being so candid, but also for you just spreading practical, useful things that all of us can do to be better at making not just education more accessible, but just life.
Yes.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.